Conor McGregor was at the Bellator show in Ireland. While there, he had a few things to say. And aside from that, the Notorious One was also active on social media. First, I want you guys to react to his admission of the injury. And then I got some follow-ups I'm going to share with you guys because some big names chimed in on what he had to say. You know, he revealed a toe injury. What did you think of that, Danny Segura?
I was kind of surprised that he revealed it because, look, I do take the toe injury seriously, but it is the pinky toe. It is sort of like the smallest bone in the body. I don't know if that's medically true, but at least that's what's perceived publicly. And I don't know. I mean, he knew he was going to get some heat, not only from his fellow fighters, but from the fan base as well. And I mean, we saw that. I'm sure we'll get into that as we go along with this topic. But I was surprised that he came forward and he revealed this. Yeah, surprised. But look, as somebody that's hit his pinky toe on things multiple times, it sucks. I can't imagine fighting with it. So yeah, props to McGregor, I guess, for stepping up and being truthful with us, I guess.
Dan, Tom, what are your thoughts? You've also fought. You've also trained and gotten black belts in stand-up, martial arts or whatever. Tell us about this pinky toe. Let me just offer what the other side's going to say. Well, Alex Fajeda fought with a toe, broke a toe.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got 2 broken toes, and he's going to come back and fight this weekend. So just your thoughts on...
They replaced him with a guy that's also got a broken toe.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever, doesn't matter my experience. I don't want to, pretend I know what's going on with a pro fighter. That being said, it's kind of hard to sympathize with McGregor, being that he's McGregor, and whether, you want to look at his standings or the things he's done. But staying on topic and whatnot, as far as that goes, I will say this, guys. Next UFC card, any of your upcoming fight cards, I want you guys to all count something. How many fighters have 2 toes taped together? I guarantee you're going to see at least 1 per card. And that might not mean it's a broken toe, but generally that's actually exactly what it means, because most people know that broken, especially if it's just like just one or something like that. It's not like the big toe or like something major, like a bone popping out, like with John Jones' son or something like that. That's generally one of the most fought through injuries. So again, I'm not trying to S on McGregor or pile on, but I will say that's one of the more fought through injuries, and at least once a card. You guys could do this on your own. Go look at it, see how many taped toes you have. It's a quiet little secret there. So when other fighters come and, give him crap, whether it's super deserved like RDA or others, I get it. That's all I'll say.
All right, well, let's get to some of that. There was some reactions across social media for McGregor's revelation of the broken toe. UFC featherweight Ilir Topuria. He says, "You are mentally broken. That is your biggest lesson. You doubt yourself, your abilities, your preparation. That's why you don't show up. You are a bitch." Now, McGregor had tweeted prior to that, "I will never enter a fight hurt again, and I will never lose another fight." So that was Topuria's response to him. Man, the champ at featherweight, where Conor McGregor used to rule one day, coming at him strong. If you kind of even look further down the comments, a few people were giving him a hard time, saying, "Hey, wasn't this guy kind of your idol at one point? Take it easy, buddy." That's what they were saying, not me. Islam Makhachev, he says, "You don't need a pinky toe for a fight. LOL, chicken." Kept it simple, but I'm sure those have to sting, because these are cats that are at the highest level in divisions where Conor McGregor once ran. And of course, there's always going to be that rivalry, not just McGregor with Islam Makhachev, McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. It just seems like him versus the guys from Dagestan. He's not going to like that one. Michael Chandler digs deep. He says, "Speaking of showing up to events, glad you finally made it to the 3 Arena where the press conference was supposed to be June 3rd. Sweet slippers. Who's the Bellator chick now?" And he comes at McGregor because McGregor was at a Bellator event. I guess McGregor must have hammered him a while back about that. And McGregor, to be fair, was cornering Sinead Kavanaugh, his teammate from SBC. So I don't know that you can give him a hard time too much. But yeah, you can tell Chandler's slowly but surely, he's starting to let loose. And then here comes RDA following up last week's little stinger that he delivered. He posts a pic and he says, "That's the difference between me and you, Conor. You finally got exposed. You got a pinky toe injury while I got a broken foot." So that's RDA on the left, and that's Conor McGregor obviously on the right. He says, "Let me know what you guys think. Tink in the comments below. If you'll recall, last week RDA was telling him to take some ibuprofen and to just kind of get over it or whatever. Goes, is this fair criticism from some of the big names in MMA?
I mean, it's kind of got to be, right? Like that, the things that Conor McGregor said in the past, the way he is, you have to know that when you say those things, it's gonna come around eventually. I'll admit, I look at it, that little piggy looked like it went to Mordor, right? Like it looks jacked up. But I was probably expecting something like a knee or something related to his previous injury. So it did kind of catch me off guard. Could just be that he can't find balance. It's at the end of his foot. We know what the toe and the pinky toe do. But you talk such a big game that you cannot expect people to stay quiet when you pull out of a fight because of a toe injury. That being said, look, with all that money that he has, him not going into a fight 100%, I get that. He can afford to stay out of fights, right? That's what he's done. That's what he's created for himself. 90% of the roster probably wishes they were him. They can't do those type of things. They have to fight. But you can't get upset at that criticism, man. He dishes it out just as bad, if not worse. So you leave yourself open for these types of comments, and they're going to come. And props to RDA, man. He kept that receipt for a long time. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at a really old receipt that ink starts to come off. You can barely read what the hell it was. That's what he pulled out. He did it at the right time, and I would have played that card too, man.
Straight out of his former wallet too. Like he had to dig up that wallet like somewhere in his closet.
Yeah, no doubt, guys. Joe Rogan kind of defended Conor McGregor. He correctly pointed out that injury's on the same leg that he broke his leg. And if you'll recall, McGregor said there was stress on that leg prior to the fight. And I guess he's thinking, I was the tough guy then, I was the hero then, and that's why I don't want to do it again. And I'm pulling out. Of course, he's got all that money, but he hasn't fought in a long time. He still says he's open to the Chandler matchup. But it also looks like Chandler could be ready to move on. He's teasing BMF and other teams. So we'll see. Dana White was asked about all this. He says, I don't even want to get into it. He's injured, so I don't want to speculate about August, September, the Sphere, Diaz, go away. You could just see it. For once, I kind of agreed with Dana White. It's like, yeah, you know what? Let us know when you're healthy, and then I guess we'll look at the map. We'll look at the war room, right, the schedule, and see what could be next. But of course, this is the Irishman, man. He moves the needle. One last one, I guess. What should he do next? Should he wait for Chandler? Move on? Is another name crept up? Dan Tom, do you like another name for McGregor at this point, or do you like just keeping the Chandler pairing if and when Chandler is ready? Should he take another fight?
I mean, it's hard to not kind of feel for Chandler because he's put so much of his career on hold. To not give him that fight, it still kind of makes sense. But if they were to go another way, I say run back that RDA fight, baby. Let's reward the Brazilian warhorse, baby. That's my vote.
It's starting to heat up. Good point. That is starting to heat up. How about you, Dave Segura?
I had not thought about that until Dan Tom offered it, and I like that. I like that a lot. The tweets have been great, by the way, so you can easily build that fight up, and that's probably the best you can get to a tune-up fight while also keeping some name value. If you ask me what's the easiest fight, Chandler or RDA, I'm gonna choose RDA all day, with all due respect to the former champion. But yeah, I think that's a great fight. But I want to suggest something, and I know I'm gonna get some eye rolls, but BMF title fight versus Max Holloway.
I'd be for it.
Saying a rematch, there could be something there. It's a good matchup for McGregor in the sense that he's not fighting a wrestler. And look, if he's gonna fight for a belt, which we know it's gonna happen at some point, I'd much rather be it for the BMF title than some legitimate undisputed world title, say either at 70 or at 155. So why not BMF against Max Holloway? Why not?
George and I talked about this last night on MMA Junkie Radio, and look, I kind of like it too. I think the UFC can be ridiculous at times, of course, but I think Conor McGregor walking into a title shot, I don't care who he is, you just can't do it at this point. Too much time. None of it makes sense. But he needs one fight to do that. And I don't know, outside of Chandler, that fighters that actually matter are going to want to do things at 170 or play all these games. But I'll tell you one, dude, Max Holloway, you're right. He is a guy. He's a gangster. And, Conor's going to look for every advantage he can possibly get. Max Holloway really is a true featherweight, but he has shown he can compete at 155. I think it's just enough. They got a little bit of history. I am down for that, dude.
And there's zero interest from Max Holloway to take the fight to the ground, so they can just stand and trade power and technique and cardio. I imagine there'd be a belt on the line, which you can secure your pay-per-view points. Although Conor, I'm sure, has that on lockdown. He's got the paydays on lockdown, but still, he loves them belts. He's got 2 from Cage Warriors, a couple from the UFC. If he can add BMF, and that can lead him towards either a shot at Makhachev or Edwards. I was telling goes. You guys tell me if I'm crazy, and then we'll move on. Sorry,
that. If he wins, you bring back Diaz, the guy that originally fought for the BMF title, and then you keep them in their own world. They don't disrupt any title implications in any division. Then you can still have pay-per-views. You can still have a little title you can throw around. That's the way you got to do it.
Goes real quick at 55 or 70 versus Holloway, because Conor seems to like 70 unless he has to fight for the title. Great question from our from Incognito Cold Coffee.
I can't imagine what Max Holloway would even look like at 170. I think it's got to be at 155. Conor's got to concede a little bit in that sense. I mean, come on, man. He's a proper featherweight. He's already going up to 155. I'd say meet him somewhere there. But 170 would be way too much for a guy like
I think he's going to look like Cabbage Correa. I mean, he'd still be all right. He
won't look like Cabbage, but yeah, no, he won't look right, dude, at that weight. That doesn't make any sense.
Here's how that conversation would go, because it's fun. That conversation would reveal that Ireland and Hawaii pronounce 3 the same way. Come on, Max, come up. It's just 3 weight classes. It's just 3 weight classes. Oh, bro, I don't know. Tree's a lot, bro. Tree's a lot. So we both, that's one thing Ireland and Hawaii have is pronouncing 3 tree. So there we go. Ireland and Hawaii unity. There we go.
There you go. Danny and Tom, real quick, please. I was telling guys yesterday on MMA Junkie Radio, the podcast for the website. It drops Mondays and Thursdays. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or Omni. I was telling him, if McGregor does win one fight and he wants to fight for a title, I think Edwards is more tailor-made for him than Makhachev. Am I crazy? He's the bigger guy, but what do you guys think? Quick, please.
No, not crazy at all. Yeah, I mean, Makhachev is the pound-for-pound best. He's the toughest fight out there, period. So, yeah, no, Edwards technically is the better fight for him.
What do you think, Danton?
As far as what the pound-for-pound best are, that kind of came.
Who do you think would be an easier matchup for Conor McGregor to win a title? Leon Edwards, who is the bigger guy, but kind of wants to strike more than grapple, or Makhachev, who is going to go towards his kryptonite?
Both terrible fights for him, but that's tough. They're both southpaws as well. I'd say Leon, just because he'd give him more of a shot, but yeah.
I was thinking.
Diaz rocked Leon. That's all I gotta say. You ain't gonna see Diaz rocking Makhachev.
I thought that too, Danny. But to be fair, that was kind of like the only highlight in 25 minutes. For Diaz.
If Diaz could do it, I'm not saying it's likely for McGregor to do it, but shit, he's got a shot.